Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Hope you all are doing well and staying at home. This is your English teacher, Miss Mehak Fatma, and this is our first lecture of English Literature, Grade 6. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. We are gonna study chapter number 4 of Bad Dreams, in which the first topic is Aunt Polly Cries. So, what are you waiting for? Take out your books. So students, I want you to read it with me. Bad Dreams, chapter number 4, first topic, Aunt Polly Cries. Someone crept quietly in at the other end of the old house now, but the boys did not notice. Suddenly a dog started making a noise just outside the house. The boys held on to each other, very afraid. If a dog howls like that, it means something bad is going to happen, whispered Huck. Which way is he looking? I don't know. Look through that crack, quick. They looked out through a hole in the wall. The dog's got his back to us. Huck, he is not looking at us. The howling stopped, but another sound came over the night air. What's that? Whispered Tom. Sounds like pigs. No, it's somebody snoring, Tom. That's right. Huck, where is it coming from? Sounds as if it's down the other end of the house. Let's go and see, said Tom. Do you think we should? It might be Joy. Tom shivered. After a minute or two, the boys agreed to go and see who it was, but to run if the snoring stopped. So they went quietly, one behind the other. When they got near to the snorer, Tom stepped on the stick and it broke. The man moved a little and they could see his face. It was Muff Porter. The boys stood still. Their heart seemed to stop beating. The man turned over and he began to snore again. The pair passed away. They went quietly on. Okay, so what happened here? That Tom and Huck were both there on a graveyard, near a graveyard, and they heard a howling sound. What is howling? एक जानवर का चीखना रोना is a howling sound. ठीक है? They heard howling and उसके बाद after some time they heard somebody snoring. What is snoring? खराटे लेना. ठीक है? So they heard somebody snoring. When they went there, it was a Muff Porter snoring there, and they thought कि Muff Porter ने हमें देख लिया है. But Muff Porter was still sleeping and started snoring again. उनका डर खत्म हुआ और वो वहाँ से निकल गए. And stopped to talk. A long howl could be heard again. They turned and saw the dog. He was looking towards Porter. The dog was howling at him, not us. Something awful will happen to him. You wait and see, whispered Huck. Then they parted and started for home. When Tom climbed in at his bedroom window, the night was nearly gone. He undressed very carefully and fell asleep, feeling pleased that nobody knew he had been out. He did not know that Sid was awake. He was snoring gently, pretending to be asleep, but he had been awake for an hour or more. When Tom woke, Sid was dressed and gone. There was a late sort of feeling in the air. He was surprised something was wrong. In 5 minutes, he was dressed and downstairs, feeling sore and tired. The family had finished breakfast and were sitting around the table. No one would speak to Tom. After breakfast, his aunt took him on one side. Tom felt sure he was going to be beaten, but instead his aunt started to cry and asked him how he could be so unkind to her. This was much worse than a beating. Tom asked her to forgive him and promised to try to be a better boy in future. He felt too unhappy and even feel angry with Sid, who had told Aunt Polly about him. He went steadily to school that morning. He felt even worse when he found that his new friend Becky Thatcher did not want to talk to him anymore. Someone must have told her how bad he was. What happened after that कि जब वो उन्होंने देखा कि डॉग तो मफ पॉटर की तरफ देख के हाउल कर रहा था, हमारी तरफ देख के हाउल नहीं कर रहा था. सो दे फील रिलैक्स्ड एट दैट टाइम. वो घर पहुंचे और घर पहुंचने के बाद टॉम को इस चीज़ का एहसास हुआ कि शायद किसी ने उसे नहीं देखा. बट ही वॉज रॉन्ग. सिड नोज दैट वो पूरी रात बाहर था एंड ही pretended to sleep. ठीक है. What happened after that कि उसके बाद सुबह हुई एंड सिड नाश्ते के लिए जा चुका था. टॉम उठा, उसे लगा कुछ ना कुछ गलत ज़रूर हुआ है. When he went downstairs, पूरी फैमिली उनकी ब्रेकफास्ट कर चुकी थी और उसके बाद उसे लगा कि अब आंटी इससे बहुत नाराज़ होंगी, उनकी आंट पॉली, एंड शी विल बीट हिम. बट व्हाट शी डिड, शी वॉज वेरी अनहैप्पी और उसने सिर्फ उनके सामने शी स्टार्टेड क्राइंग. जो चीज़ टॉम को बहुत हर्ट हुई और ये बीट करने से, मार खाने से ज़्यादा बुरी थी. इससे ज़्यादा बुरा ये हुआ कि जब वो स्कूल पहुंचा तो उसे पता चला कि उसकी जो न्यू फ्रेंड थी बेकी, वो उससे बात नहीं कर रही और उसे लगा कि शायद इसे भी किसी और ने मेरे बारे में गलत बता दिया है. Okay, here our first topic ends. Now this is our another topic just after that. That is Muff Porter caught. So Muff Porter is caught. By midway, the whole village knew about the terrible killing of Dr. Robinson. The schoolmaster gave a holiday for the afternoon. Everyone would have thought it strange if he had not. A knife had been found close to the body of the murdered doctor. It was said that it belonged to Muff Porter. Someone had seen Porter washing himself in the river at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. He had run away at once. The town had been searched but he could not be found. Everybody was going towards the graveyard. Tom forgot his troubles and joined the crowd. When he arrived there, someone squeezed his arm. He turned and his eyes met Huckleberry's. They both turned away at once and wondering if anyone had noticed them looking at each other. But everybody was talking and looking at the awful scene in front of them. Poor young man, this should be a lesson to grave robbers. Muff Porter will be hanged for this if they catch him. Now Tom began to shake with fright from head to toe, for he had noticed Injun Joe in the crowd. At this moment the crowd began to move and voices shouted, "It's him! It's him! He's coming himself!" Who? Shouted people in the crowd. "Muff Porter! He says, stop! Look out! He's turning away! Don't let him get away!" अच्छा, what happened then? कि दोपहर तक सबको पता चल चुका था that डॉक्टर रॉबिन मारे जा चुके हैं and everyone was shocked at that time. सब के सब बॉडी के पास जब पहुँचे, so they found a knife there and it belonged to Muff Porter. तो एवरीवन थॉट कि ये तो मफ पॉटर ने ही किया होगा. फिर सब एक और क्लू निकला कि दैट मफ पॉटर वाज वॉशिंग हिमसेल्फ इन द रिवर. तो सबको लगा दैट मफ पॉटर ही इज द ओनली वन हु कैन डू दिस. एवरीवन वाज फाइंडिंग दैट वेयर मफ पॉटर इज एंड दे वर फीलिंग वेरी बैड फॉर डॉक्टर रॉबिन्सन. इतने में समवन स्क्वीज्ड टॉम्स आर्म एंड इट वाज हकलबेरी. Everyone was shouting, "Oh, there he is, there he is!" जैसे ही सबको मफ पॉटर नजर आए, they were shouting कि उसे पकड़ लो, उसी ने सब कुछ किया है, उसी ने सब कुछ किया है. Tom and Huck was amazed to see that Injun Joy was also in that crowd. After that, people in the branches of the trees over Tom's head said he wasn't trying to get away. He just looked puzzled. He wanted to have a quiet look at his work, said one person close to Tom. He didn't expect to find anybody here. The crowd parted and the sheriff came through, leading Porter by the arm. The poor man looked very frightened. "I didn't do it, friends," he cried. "On my words of honor, I didn't do it." "Who says you did?" shouted a voice. Porter looked around him. He saw Injun Joy. Suddenly he knew what had happened. "Oh, Injun Joy," he cried, "you promised me you never..." "Is this your knife, Porter?" said the sheriff, holding the knife in front of his face. Porter would have fallen if they had not caught him. Then he said, "I thought that if I didn't come back and got it, something would go wrong. He shook all over. Tell them, Joy, tell them. It's no use keeping quiet anymore. Then Huckleberry and Tom stood dumb and staring as they heard that liar. And Joy tells his story. Every minute they expected God to strike him dead for his lies, but nothing happened. They almost decided to break their promise to each other and save the prisoner's life. But when Injun Joy had finished and he still stood alive and whole, they felt he must have sold him to Satan, king of all the devils. If Satan was helping Injun Joy, it would be stupid to go against power as that they thought. Now what happened? दैट जो लोग थे वो बहुत शोर कर रहे थे एंड जल्दी से जाके शेरिफ ने टॉम को मफ पॉटर को पकड़ा एंड ही बॉट हिम इन फ्रंट ऑफ एवरीवन. यहाँ जब मफ पॉटर पहुंचा, ही वॉज क्राइंग कि मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया, मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया, बट नो वन वॉज लिसनिंग टू हिम. एंड व्हाट हैपेंड कि उसने देखा कि इंजन जॉय इज ऑल्सो इन द क्राउड. अब उसे समझ में आया, अच्छा तो ये सब कुछ इंजन जॉय ने किया. ही वॉज क्राइंग एंड ही वॉज आस्किंग इंजन जॉय टू टेल द ट्रुथ टू एवरीवन, बट इंजन जॉय ने इतना झूठ अपनी स्टोरी बताई सबको एंड इट वॉज ऑल लाई. टॉम एंड हक वॉज स्टैंडिंग देयर एंड दे वर सेइंग कि अब हमें अपने प्रॉमिस तोड़ देना चाहिए और हमें सब कुछ सच सच बता देना चाहिए. बट व्हेन जब अपनी स्टोरी ख़त्म की इंजन जॉय ने, तो दे सेड दे बोथ डिस्कस दैट कि ये अब तक सही सलामत है. इट मीन्स कि इसने अपने आप को शैतान को बेच दिया एंड शैतान इज़ द किंग ऑफ ऑल द डेविल्स. अगर शैतान इज़ हेल्पिंग हिम देन हाउ इज़ इट पॉसिबल कि हम इसके अगेंस्ट खड़े हो. Why didn't you leave? What did you want to come here for? Somebody asked Porter. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, cried Porter. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't seem to come anywhere but here. Injun Joy repeated his story just as calmly as a few minutes later, even though he had sworn on the Bible to tell the truth. The boys were now quite sure that he had sold himself to Satan, and because of this, he was specially interesting to them. They made up their minds to watch him at night. If they got the chance, perhaps they would see Injun Joy and his terrible master God. Injun Joy had helped to lift the body of the murdered man and put it in a cart. It was whispered through the crowd that the young doctor's wound bled a little. The boys hoped that this might make people believe Injun Joy had done the killing, but more than one person said the bleeding started when Muff Porter was standing close to body. इंजन जॉय ने अपनी स्टोरी को ऐसे बताया जैसे सब ने उस पर बिलीव कर लिया. इवन दो मफ पॉटर ने बहुत कोशिश की सबको सच बताने की, बट नो वन वॉज लिसनिंग टू हिम. और इंजन जॉय ने अपनी बात को और ज़्यादा सपोर्ट करने के लिए उसने बाइबल पे हाथ रख के कसम भी खाई दैट व्हाटएवर ही इज सेइंग ट्रुथ. नोबडी बिलीव दैट मफ पॉटर डिड नॉट डू एनीथिंग देयर. Thank you students, hope you like this video. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe the channel.